Hello, everyone, and welcome to Distortion Gems, episode number 8. I don't know what we're talking about in this episode, but it'll be a journey for everyone. I know Deke has a few albums that he wants to talk about. I got some stuff in my collection, just stuff that I've been listening to lately. That's what I went with. Yeah, we're here. We're ready to go. Talk about some gems in our collections.
Yep.
So who wants to start?
Well, you can start. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 CDs and an album.
I have 3 LPs and a CD, and we'll see how far we get. Because right. I have a cold, and I know Deke's got a cold, and everyone's got cold. You might notice my energy levels a little lower than usual.
But as Freddie Mercury said, the show must go on.
That's right. Yeah, that guy was something else, man.
Oh, frick yeah.
Okay, first, I guess I'll talk about this. This was an album. I had this album came out when I was in grade 10 or 11, and I listened to the crap out of it. I loved it so much. And then, like everything else, I got tired of it. Got tired of the band because the band wasn't cool anymore. They went to all kind of pop. You know, they weren't as they were missing their edge.
Right.
And eventually I got rid of the CD that I had, even though I loved it and I listened to it a lot, but I was burnt out on it. And like everything else, well, I could sell the CD for a few bucks and get something else, right? Eventually I found the album again in the thrift stores for a buck a few years ago, and it just sat in the pile, and eventually I got around to listening to it again. And it's kind of a trip to listen, like something you listened to so much about 30 years ago. Or we'll say 25, not exactly 30 yet. And yeah, it's like brings you right back. So the album in question is The Offspring.
Oh,
Smash. Yes. So yeah, of course,
pretty huge album back in '94, man.
Well, yeah, and it was a trip for me because everything that I was into at that time was not cool. I mean, 1993, my bands were AC/DC, ZZ Top, a little bit of Queen when Queen was kind of made a comeback with the Wayne's World, and then like all the heavy metal stuff that I was listening to, it just was not cool.
Right.
It had to be grunge, right?
Yeah.
And even some of the modern bands I was into, Pantera, White Zombie, they were not mainstream. They were not, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots. So to get into this band and then to actually like have the album, because the first song that came out was Come Out and Play. And that was a cool song, got that. And then, you're listening to these songs like, what the heck, Gotta Get Away.
Yep.
And, that became a huge hit. Self-Esteem became a huge hit. So that was like a really, for me, I had never experienced something like that where I was listening to the songs and then maybe like 5-6 months later, they would become a hit. It was just so weird. And I was like, man, I'm in on it. I'm with it for one album, my entire life. This was it. I was in on it for about a year and a half. And then, yeah, the band kind of went commercial after that, and they were kind of chasing the hits and all that.
Of course,
they had some good stuff, but really nothing compared to the anger that was on this. This was more of a punk album, right? And like the one song on here, oh geez, I'm really bad with the names of the songs. Bad Habit. That's a song. Like you've listened to this album, right? You remember this?
I had it.
Yeah. Bad Habit is about this guy who's like, he's in traffic and he has like a road rage and he has the gun in his car and he wants to start shooting everybody. Wow, that was something else. Very, very American.
Very appropriate. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. That's awesome.
Anyways,
I was That was a mega album. It's like they crossed over into the mainstream with that record just by the, not so much the songs, it's just the fact that it was just a mass appeal towards their sound, with especially Self-Esteem.
Yeah.
Gotta Get Away. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I bought the CD. I'll never say I was into those guys when they were underground. It's because I saw the videos and I thought, yeah, to me it's catchy rock. So I bought it. But if you're to drill me on some of the other songs on that now, after all this time, it'd be an epic fail on my part.
Oh yeah, it was all like I had not listened to a lot of these songs since the 90s.
Yeah.
Geez. And I forgot too, like how there's all these little there's like little intros and stuff like that to the songs.
Mm-hmm.
That I think if you had the cassette you wouldn't get that. So it was like the CD bonus extra where they would like it'd be just like this little insert, this guy talking about the next song. And but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Something to Believe In. I hadn't heard that in a long time. Killboy Powerhead. What in the world happened to you, which is like a ska kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had not listened to these in forever, and it was just kind of fun. It was kind of a trip to go back.
Nice.
So,
That's what it's about, man.
Yep.
What it's about. All right, so my first nostalgia show and tell is, I wonder if you ever heard of these guys. Alias.
I probably have on either your blog or one of the other guys' blog. They sound familiar.
They were two Canadian guys that were in the band Sheriff back in the early 80s.
Okay.
Freddie Kirchie,
yes.
And Stephen DeMarchi. Okay, so
I just watched the video on this. How bad is that?
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
And the big hit was When I'm With You, which was huge in Canada with Sheriff, went nowhere in the States, and they broke up. So
that was in the early 80s.
That was in the early 80s. Now, by the mid to the late 80s, one of the other two guys in Sheriff, one of them being Arnold Lanny, formed Frozen Ghost with, I think it was Wolf Hassel, the bass player from Sheriff. So they branched off and started doing their own thing.
Right.
And I guess I listened to a podcast with Arnold Lanny, and he talked about back in the mid 80s, he bought the publishing to When I'm With You because it was for nobody cared and it was for dirt cheap, and he wrote the song for his wife, so he wanted to own it, so he bought it. So I guess the story goes in the late 80s they're touring, Arnold and Wolf are touring around in Frozen Ghosts, and the manager gets a hold of them and says, the single is taking off again. And they're like, well, what single? I thought our Frozen Ghost album was done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was When I'm With You. And some DJ somewhere in the States played the old 45. Yeah, Chicago. Played it. It took off and went like crazy. So basically it went to number one in early 1989 in the States on the Billboard singles chart. They weren't even a band, and there was no video for it. That was just the power of radio back then. And of course, the other guys wanted to get Sheriff back together. Lanny and Wolf said, no, we're doing Frozen Ghost. And then, all of a sudden it became, well, you know what? We played instruments on that. We should be getting paid. It starts all that bullshit with suing and da-da-da-da. So anyways, the two guys that got left behind, Steve and Freddie, formed Alias. And they recruited the three guys from Heart that got their asses fired in the early 80s. Michael DeRoche, Steve Fossen, and Roger Fisher. Hence came Alias. So I originally bought this on cassette tape back then because when I think of Heart and I think of those three guys from Heart, I think of three things: Barracuda, Kick It Out, Crazy on You.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Good ranking tracks.
Yep.
This is more like if Richard Marx was to dial up a huge speedball of steroids. It's basically that kind of melodic, hard rockish kind of thing. So, I was in Dan here in Thunder Bay. He opened up his Spins shop and he had a shit ton of CDs, and there it was sitting for $1.
That's awesome.
So I thought, you know what? For old nostalgia spin, what the hell? It's worth $1, right? Because the cassette tape has been long. Went the way with the Walkman for me.
Right.
But, not bad. I mean, the big hit was, I think it was More Than Words Can Say. And I think Waiting for Love was the other big one. And it was more melodic, hard AOR rock. Not bad, but it wasn't what I expected. Because I was expecting some Barracuda-like drumming, right? Mm-hmm. But and as it turns out, they started touring around on this record. It went platinum in Canada, went gold in the States. The Heart guys, for some reason, had a falling out with the two Canadian guys. America versus Canada, folks. And off they went, and and then I think the two Canadian guys tried putting out a second Alias, and right in the grunge era, and we know how that must have done. Right. Because I didn't even know it existed. So anyways, that's my first nostalgia pick of the day.
I like the how there's a sheriff badge on there as well, right? Like a star, kind of looks like a sheriff star on the cover.
Damn it, I never ever realized
it's like a little hidden.
I wonder if that's the old cheap shot.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I just oddly enough, I just watched the video on that, and they were talking about how like some guy in Chicago. Now it actually happened a few times in Chicago, because in Chicago they would get distant transmissions from Canada. Mm-hmm. DJs would listen to music from Canada on their radio, and they'd pick up on a few songs. And it's not like in Detroit or Buffalo where you could just tune over to a Canadian station, right? Mm-hmm. As easily. So they would like rebroadcast, like Hitchin' to Ride by what's the name of that band?
Boston.
No.
That's only Hitchin' a Ride I know.
No, Hitchin' to Glide.
Switching to Glide, the Kings.
Switching to Glide, the Kings. Like there.
The Kings.
Yeah, they were. That song was a hit in Chicago for the same reason. They DJs just kind of heard it in Canada, and then they would just the
Alias, it is a fascinating backstory when you read into the whole. It's kind of like almost a middle, you can't really call them a super group, but sort of kind of
almost, and that first Heart album, that was considered partly CanCon, because it was all recorded in Vancouver. So it kind of was like 25 or 50% CanCon, and so that was kind of like those Heart guys coming back home almost to their roots, because they were a Seattle band. They couldn't get a signing or a recording time or anything in Seattle, so they came up to Vancouver and got it done. And
of course they all got kind of booted out of Heart because they were involved in personal relationships with the Wilson sister.
Yeah.
And I think that the one guy, Steve Fossing, who wasn't involved, that he was probably just guilty by association. So,
and it's too bad, because that group, I mean, I would put that original group on par with even Led Zeppelin in terms of talent. Maybe not the drummer, but guitar, bass, singing. I would put them up there.
Well, the little Queen album was my introduction to them, and like Barracuda. I mean, that slams you. I always loved the drums in that. I mean, I still hear it, and you can airband them, right?
Yeah,
and kick it out and stuff like that. But they also, showed a pretty melodic side to them. They were bringing out the mandolins, and they were bringing out, I mean, look at the cover of Little Queen. It looks like they're a traveling band of gypsies. Basically that's what they were. And they had a pretty good vibe there. And of course, we all know what avenue they went down by mid 1985. But good on them. Good on them.
I mean, there was more than just them that was doing the whole outside songwriters and going for the pop hits and all that stuff. So
we could do a whole 5-episode shows on it.
Yeah. Okay, so the other album I've been listening to. So what I like to do sometimes is kind of challenge myself with my collection. and just kind of give myself a little bit of a goal, because I've accumulated so much music that it's hard to sit and decide what to play. So sometimes I'll be like, well, let me, it was coming up on 2025, and I was like, let me find the records in my album collection that turned 50 this year. So I went through and I found a bunch of stuff that came out in 1975, and I just been going through that and rotating all that stuff. And then I went on my computer to listen to some of it. Like I was listening to it on vinyl, and then I was on my computer, and this one album came up that I didn't have on vinyl, but I had a digital copy. And I started listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. How do I not have a copy of this? So for Christmas, I actually got a $50 gift card for Cosmic Dave's here in Sudbury. And I'm like, what if I was to go to Cosmic Dave's? And wouldn't it be awesome if I actually found that record, and for a price that's not insane? And I'm like, that never happens. And I was even listening to the album on my way to Cosmic Dave's. Sarah sit beside me. She's like, what is this? I'm like, this is the album I'm going to be looking for. So I get the Cosmic Dave's. I go right to the section, flip through, and there it was for $14 in great shape. That never happens. But here it is. This is Jeff Beck. Can you see that? Blow by Blow, which has a cool cover. It's like this painting on the front, right? Let me take it out of the plastic so you can really see this. Right? It's a painting of Jeff Beck playing the guitar on the front. And then the back is the photo that the artist used as inspiration for the painting. Isn't that pretty cool?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Somebody was thinking there.
Yeah. Anyways, I had Jeff Beck Wired. I've had that record forever in my collection. It's like a infused jazz fusion, whatever the heck that genre is called. Just instrumentals, but I've always liked it. But I never really expanded into anything else. But then once I listened to this Wired is like down in second place now. Blow by Blow is awesome. It is just funky. It's just a great listen to all the way through. Nothing is bad on here. You just put it on while you're cleaning the house, and the house will be spot polished in 45 minutes, because you're just going to be in the groove, in the pocket the entire time.
Blow by Blow.
It is awesome. And I'm sure Blow by Blow is alluding to something. I don't know. It's the 70s. Was the blow not popular? I guess it was. I mean, Ozzy did Snowblind, right? In the 70s. So
he sure did.
Yeah. Anyways, fantastic. If you haven't listened to it, do the streaming thing or whatever you have to do to give it a listen, and you will want your own copy of Blow by Blow.
And funny thing is, at the end of the 80s, I went down to Toronto to see Paul McCartney. And the guys I went to see Paul McCartney with a few months earlier, they went and seen Jeff Beck and Stevie Ray Vaughan together in a co-headline. And that's when Jeff Beck was touring around. I think he had an album out time called Guitar Shop or something. And Stevie Ray Vaughan had his the album In Step with This House Is Rockin' and whatnot. Like, what a phenomenal show that must have been. And then, of course, when Stevie Ray passed away the following year, it was like, damn, that, you just don't know. But it was like, that would have been a show I would have loved to have even gone to, even though I don't know Jeff Beck's stuff at all. But I'll definitely add Blow by Blow to Apple Library.
Yeah, I would want to know what you think of it. I think you dig it. It's funky. It's not like it's not rock. Like, it's rock, but it's funky rock. I don't know.
I'll throw it on the Old Man Rock Walk and go from there.
All right, know what you Kevin.
Think. I will, and I think you're gonna dig this next one.
All right,
because I know you. I kind of think I know you.
Okay.
First, I'm going to show you the wrap it came in, and it's a dead giveaway.
Yeah. Okay. Right. It's one of let's see, 15 albums, 16 albums.
Just in case you don't know who the band is, Kev. Okay. Just in case. All right.
And
So,
I'm not sure if I've heard of them.
yeah, there we go. That's classic. So I was at our local, sometimes you go through a record store, and I was in Sunrise, and, you get that nostalgia bug, right? So anyways, to make a long story short, I ended up rebuying this one.
Oh.
I love this album.
Yeah.
I don't care what the naysayers say out there. So, you get the original, the
Yeah.
right? And on the inside, have you seen any of these gold reissues?
No, actually. No.
Okay, so when you get into the inside of it, let's see here. You get this.
Ooh.
This is, I guess you could actually, these are separate. They're not a record sleeve.
Oh, okay.
They probably had done it for, well, actually, I got the AC/DC Live 50th anniversary edition, and they did the same thing, but it's AC/DC Live, right?
Right.
I guess they're probably doing it for each record, but yeah, that's kind of neat. And then the actual record sleeve, I think this is probably from the reissues of the CD back in the day, right?
So I have a reissue of For Those About to Rock from like 20, I don't know, when did they come out? 2006?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've had it for a while. Anyways, it has that in it.
Yeah.
Insert.
And there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Gold.
So the thing was, this album, it just takes me right back to Christmas of 81 when my parents originally bought it for me. And, my copy was totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I don't know. This one just kind of, out of the AC/DCs that they had there in the bunch, this one just kind of reached out. And then next thing you know, so did my debit card.
There is something about the artwork for that album. It's just so simplistic, like so simple, but just iconic.
Yeah.
And
you know what? When T-Bone was the first guy to actually get it, and I still remember sitting in his basement, we were listening to it for the first time, and we just stared. If a picture says 1,000 words, that's the one right there. We just stared at that thing for hours while listening to, Inject the Venom, and Snowballed and COD, and it's all so classic. So, to make a long story short, I said I reached out to a few pals, and then finally my brother-in-law said, believe it or not, I don't have a copy For Those About to Rock. I said, well, you got my copy if you want it. And he came over today and picked it up. And so it's gone on to another home where it'll be played. So, but nice. I just, this one just.
Yeah. It's a great record. I don't really understand the hate as much. Like, I get it. It is a step down from Back in Black. There is no. But I mean, how could you do Back in Black again? But it is, I would say it's a decent, more than decent. It's a great Brian Johnson record. Inject the Venom. I mean, that's just a Phil Rudd powerhouse song. You just listen to Phil Rudd drummed on that thing,
Yeah.
He gets so much crap for being a 3/4 drummer or 2 or whatever, 4-on-4 drummer. And that song, man, he's just locked in. It's so good.
And I like the solo in it. I think it was one of the blog guys said years ago that when Angus goes in this solo, it's like he's stabbing you in the eye, It's so good. And, that's Evil Walk, COD, breaking all the rules.
Yeah.
Let's Get It Up, Put the Finger on You. Like, I can listen to it. If I couldn't listen to it front to back, I wouldn't have bought it. Let's put it that way. But I'll say one more thing about it, which was classic. And when this first came out, we had the Christmas break when we were in high school. And then we went back and, For Those About to Rock had been out for a few months, and being in the homeroom class it was grade 9s and grade 10s. And we were in grade 9, and there was an older guy in grade 10. He had AC/DC on his binder. So I hadn't really talked to him. So I thought I'd make the musical connection of, hey, you know, so I said, hey, what do you think of that new AC/DC? You know, For Those About to Rock. He goes, sides 3 and 4 to Back in Black. And I'm like, no, well, wait a minute. Well, yeah. And then as you get further in the catalog, each one's just a continuation of each side. But you know what? I don't know. I just love that Mutt Lang polish on it. You know, it's, and then the next one I love even more, Flick of the Switch. So, because they went totally reverse in sound, raw, you know, did it themselves, kept it in-house. They were firing managers left and right and firing producers and da-da-da-da. But yeah, it was about to rock, buddy. I salute you.
I always say that, you know, to the untrained ear, they all sound alike, but for the real fans, there's nuance for every album, and you can hear the difference for sure.
Oh, totally.
I want to give a shout out to Spellbound. I think that is the most underrated AC/DC song of all time. You know, for a band that gets labeled as sexist, because they are. That's a lot of the songs are. It's cartoony sexist, but you know, but for like lyrics that are not very deep or meaningful all the time, that song, it is. I'd put it up there with like some of the, you know, more poetic or reverent singer-songwriters albums. Like the lyrics to that are quite excellent. You know, Brian Johnson gets a lot of crap for his lyrics too, but that song, man, he hit it on the head for that one. Let's Get It Up. I've always been a little disappointed with the album version of that song, because they do have a live version that it's the same one that came out when they were promoting the album. And that one's like just the tempo is just a little faster.
Faster. Live. Yeah.
But it's still a great song, and the iconic opening track. They still play it at the end of every show. So,
yeah, and that's the thing, like you say, iconic opening riff. I remember first hearing that, and when you hear Malcolm's rhythm come in, meow, meow, meow. Oh, it's like that's like,
yeah,
that guy is the king of rhythms, man. Like,
the build up.
You can the build up, and you know, like the other day I was listening to the AC/DC live, same thing, like the song Razor's Edge, like his rhythms are just so tight, man. Like during the chorus, like bah, bah, bah. It's like, holy frick, so miss that guy, miss.
Okay, I could talk about AC/DC all night, but
so could I.
My throat only has so much life left in it. So
keep talking. I just got to take care of my dingo here, but I hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to mention the next album I've been listening to quite a bit. I've been into chess lately. I don't know why. I just got the bug to start playing chess, and out of coincidence, when I was at the record store and I picked up Jeff Beck Blow by Blow, I also picked up Yes's Yes album.
Oh, cool.
And I just grabbed it because it was in good shape. And, you know, I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't even really look at the songs on it. I just knew that it was like one of the ones I had to get. So as I start listening to it, I flip on this, like side one, great, fantastic. Flip over to side two, and it's I've Seen All Good People. I'm like, oh, I know this song. I forgot that it was on here. So I'm listening to it, and as I'm listening to the lyrics, I'm like, is he singing about chess? You know, because he's all about capture the queen and you're the pawn and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I look at it, and so yeah, the song is called I've Seen All Good People, but then it's split into A and B. B is All Good People, but A is Your Move. And he's singing, you read the lyrics, and he's singing about chess. And I just thought that was so cool.
Wow.
That I just picked up this album because I knew I needed it, because it's a early Yes album. And I listened to it, and that song's on there. And I've heard that song a billion times on the radio.
Yep.
But I never really sat and listened to it, you know? And this was the first time I actually listened to it. I'm like, well, these lyrics about chess, which I've been playing a lot of. So that was just a weird kind of coincidence.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Great stuff. Early Yes, man. That's good stuff. Right there, man.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's it. That's basically what I've been listening to lately. I guess I got one more. If you got one more, you got something else.
I got one more. So you do
Okay.
yours. I'll finish up with mine.
Okay, just quickly, I'm going to say that when I was out with you and Sue at one time, and we went to Toys R Us, and we had like a stack of stuff that we were buying each. And if you recall, I at the last minute, I like ran. There was one record that I had left there, and I knew I can't leave it there. I better not leave it there. So I run and I go, and I just last minute get this one record in. And of course, I don't listen to it till around Christmas time. I finally get to it, and oh my goodness, I'm so glad I picked this up. It's Motorhead.
Yep.
We play rock and roll live at the Montreux Jazz Festival 07. This has bumped up into at least probably my top 2 or 3 Motorhead live albums. It is so good. So it's 07. That's like my favorite version of the band with Mickey D and Phil Campbell and Lemmy. Just that trio. That's who they like. When I got into the band in the late 90s, that was who they were, and I've always stuck with them as the best version of the band for me. And not only are all the songs great, and the recording is great, which you don't always get with a Motorhead live album, but this was when like the resurgence of oh God, I'm bad with the names all of a sudden. The album that they did with Robo.
Another Perfect Day.
Another Perfect Day. This was like the resurgence of that album. Like it had been known as like the crappy Motorhead album from the early 80s, but then like people were starting to appreciate it again. Mm-hmm. So that's when Lemmy started taking songs from that album and putting them more into the live shows. So you get a couple of songs from that on here. Over the Top's on here. It's just such a good, great, awesome album. So I'm so glad I ran back and grabbed that one.
Yeah. Especially when we basically had to shake down the girl at the till.
Yeah, I know.
I'm only 18. I just started here yesterday.
That poor girl. I know.
I was running back for Motorhead.
She's probably like cursing, like, why are we doing music now? We got all these music nerds in here trying to buy.
She probably submitted her 2-week notice after that. Yeah. I'm out of here.
She went from like ease of like just new moms buying clothes for their toddlers or whatever to like all these music nerds. Hold on, I gotta go. I gotta run and get another record because I didn't have enough in my pile already.
That's right. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Well, you never know because you snooze, you might lose, right?
Yeah. I'm so glad because it was one of those ones that because it was a little pricey. It was a little expensive, Mm-hmm. But I never see it, and I just knew that like if I passed up on it, I'd probably not find it again. So. Yeah, or I'd be paying more for it if I found it again. So, anyways, I'm really glad because it is really, really good.
That's awesome, man. That's what it's about. Hey, you got to it. Better late than ever, right?
That's right.
So for my last pick, last Friday, this band dropped their first new album in a few years. And my rule of thumb is if I'm kind of somewhat interested, I'll add it to my Apple library, and when I do my Old Man Rock walk that day, I have to listen to it straight through without skipping. So if I get through that test, I'm usually in, and my next stop is Amazon to see what it's priced at. And anyways, I downloaded this album onto my phone and went out for my walk, and I enjoyed it. And believe it or not, it's not Yes, but it is a prog band, and it's these guys. Dream Theater with their new one, the hell, Parasomnia. Geez, I can't even remember the title of it.
I didn't even know they had a new album out. So.
Well, I guess the kicker with this is they got their original drummer Mike Portnoy back after 15 years, so he came back to the band. There was a lot of hype with that. I mean, if you read the music stuff on Twitter or Facebook or whatever from music sites and stuff. And I thought, yeah, okay. And then they dropped like 3 teaser tracks, but I didn't want to listen to them in case I didn't take to them, because I'd say, I don't know. And then you hear the first song and then you kind of dismiss it, and then you know what I mean. So I thought, well, I'll wait for the album to drop, and when it drops, So when I was at the store buying Sunrise buying For Those About to Rock, I didn't want to pay $60 or $66 for it on vinyl, but for $25 on CD, I thought, what the hell? And this is a very good album. The artwork is done by Hugh Syme, which you guys all know that Rush, he did all Rush's stuff, and
right,
tons and tons of album covers. And there's geez, my eyes are ever bad. There's 8 songs, 2 are musical, but I have to say out of the 8 tracks, Night Terror, Bend the Clock, and Midnight Messiah would have to be my 3. Bend the Clock is different for Dream Theater. That's what I've been reading, and it's actually almost not, I don't want to say ballad, I don't want to say power ballad. Let's say prog-ish, kind of slowish, kind of and it's very well done. I mean, these guys all got chops, and they know how to play their instruments. So you know what? I was happy to get this one for the collection because I bought the first 3 Dream Theater albums, and then life got busy. I had 3 daughters with my wife. And then we had to prioritize my music choices that I wanted to buy, because you have those A-list bands.
Mm-hmm.
You want to buy AC/DC when it comes out. I wanted to buy Iron Maiden when it came out, yada yada. And then I just never really got back in the Dream Theater, and I bought one of their albums 5 years ago, and I liked it, and off of iTunes. And then was one of those ones where if I want to listen to Dream Theater, I go back to the first one, Images and Words, with Pull Me Under, which was probably their biggest hit. And and it'd been a long time since I heard that. And when you and Sarah graciously gave me that CD player, I was at Toys R Us, and they had Images and Words for $10. Easy pick. So so then when I heard about this one, I thought, well, you know what? I streamed it, I liked it, I bought it, and it's very good. I mean, if you're in that prog mood, it will satisfy your appetite for it. So
I wrote it down. It's on the list.
It's very good. And the last song is, I'll tell you right now, the Shadow Man Incident clocks in at a cool 19 minutes.
Wow.
But the thing is, they keep it moving. You're not, God, is this song ever going to end? So you know what? For me, the first official 2025 release that I bought from an act that put out an album this year, it's very good. So there you go. There's my 3 finds, buddy.
Nice. Awesome. Well, that's it.
That's all she wrote.
Okay, we made it. Two sick guys from Canada.
8. Now, why don't you tell us before you go what you have cooking on your channel?
You mean on the Canadian Grooves? Well, Sarah and we started doing movie reviews. So we just been doing like little short, I don't know, 10, 15 minute, we just from like whatever movies we've been watching. And if there's a movie that we both like, just make a video on it and talk about it. And that's it.
Put a link to it when you do up the ad for this thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Sure, I will. Yeah, no, it'd be, we just, like we like to watch movies, and our friends are really not into movies that much. So we kind of just wanted to do a little thing on YouTube and maybe get people to reach out and just to chat in the comments about the movies we've been talking about. And it's been nice, cool. And Sarah's been kind of the driving force behind it. She really wanted to do it, and
nice.
It's kind of cool to have somebody who, to work with, to do stuff, to keep you motivated to do things, kind of like Deke.
Yeah. And in my world, kind of like Sue.
Yeah, there you go.
But and just to give everybody a heads up, got some stuff coming up at the channel. Next week, I'm actually Chip from Chipster's, what do you call it? He's like a promotion kind of guy. He reached out to me last week and asked me if I wanted to talk to Montreal blues guy named Steve Hill. So I got that on top for a chat next week. And I also have a series that I'm starting, and I'm not going to really give it away yet, but my first guest that I'm doing it with is the one and only Jon Snow.
Oh.
Second show I have lined up in the same kind of format, which I'll tell you when we're off the air, Kev. I don't want to I don't want to blow this for our 10 fans.
Right.
And then the second show got the elusive T-Bone on. So, you know, to get him on because he's the master of my artwork on all my stuff that I do.
Nice.
And, also,
not the artwork on this show. We don't want him like people think that's my stuff. Okay. And it's awful. All right. The good stuff you see on the channel, that's T-Bone.
Yeah. He's the creative force behind. Like I always say, T-Bone, the ads look good. I don't know about the substance. The ads look cool. And then I'm going to be doing another show with another pal of mine. And what we're doing is, and we're not telling each other, is we're picking on what we would consider our top 10 all-time debut albums.
Oh.
And we're going to get together with him, and his name's Dave, and he did a show with me a few years ago on the Tragically Hip.
I remember that.
Last year he was on Retro Throwdown doing Pearl Jam.
Okay.
Yep. Having him back on. He's a big music guy too. And like I said, we're not telling each other what our 10 picks are. So I think that's going to be cool. And then of course we have our stuff going on. So there's going to be some more kind of moving along now, kind of getting stuff back in gear here. And and it was fun to do at Gems. Is this our first Gems this year or our second one, Nick?
I think we did one.
We did a best of, right?
We did a best of 2024. So I don't know if we did that at the end of 2024 or at the beginning of 2025.
See, folks, that's the thing. We don't do a schedule meeting.
That's right. It's been about a month since we did a show. I can tell you that.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah. That's cool. You got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, you're definitely going to want to subscribe because you got to keep up with all the content. And you just did that interview you did with Robert Lawson about little Steven. That was great too.
He's a great guy to talk to, man. Like he's passionate, man, with all his books, right? Like you do a show with Robert, you gotta step up and do your homework.
Right. Yeah. And it was interesting too, because little Steven, anytime you see him in an interview or whatever, he's always talking about Bruce, or he's talking about The Sopranos, or he's talking about, an acting gig he has, or some project he has. He never talks about himself. So it's kind of cool to actually listen to stuff about his own music, which was really cool.
Give me a second here. Here's the book right here.
Yeah, there it is.
So hit Robert Lawson up. He's up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and he has copies for sale. And it's about supporting independent book authors, man.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Cool. All right, that's it. We did all the plugs. We did an episode. Now we can go to sleep. We can crash. All right. Thanks everybody for watching this. Don't forget to like and subscribe because we don't set a schedule. So you don't want to miss an episode. You wouldn't want to miss this, right? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Kev.
All right. Thank you, Deke. Yeah, bye.